Chichao also. So I think Ken and Chichao went to PS1. Ken wrote outside of PS1, right?
I knew Ken did that. She was stuck in that. Oh.
Yeah. A little late. That's the late on something. Are we live?
I think we have.
We will have one.
Yeah. And we don't have any here. I mean, we have the declaration. That's it.
Yeah.
Which thing?
I realize we're supposed to declare a resolution. I was gonna say resolution, but it doesn't say, yeah. All right, I think, let's see, Shanice, are we okay? Thank you so much. All right, I will call the meeting to order at 6:38. Hi, everybody, thanks, folks who are here in person and everybody who's joining us on Zoom. Let's begin.
Can they hear you? You want to check?
Oh yeah, good question. Can folks on Zoom hear me okay? We've got a loud air conditioner in here. How's the audio?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, let's begin with the interpretation information. Could the Spanish interpreters please share the information about the language line?
Yes. This is the Spanish interpreter. Buenas tardes. Si necesita interpretación en español, por favor digite en su teléfono el 347-966-4114. Luego el identificador de llamadas, que es el 959-843-920, seguido del símbolo numeral. Por favor, mantener su teléfono en silencio para una interpretación sin interrupciones. Gracias. Announcement concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the Bangla interpretation information, please.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা সবাইকে। আপনারা যদি এই অনুষ্ঠান বাংলায় শুনতে চান আপনারা ডায়াল করতে পারেন 347-966-4114। নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 347-966-4114। তারপরে আপনারা একটা আইডি নাম্বার দিবেন, ওটা হলো 141-218-439 হ্যাশট্যাগ। নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 141-218-439 হ্যাশট্যাগ। ধন্যবাদ। Thank you.
Thank you. And Mandarin, please.
今天的会议有提供国语的翻译服务，请你拨打我们国语的专线是347-966-414， ID 号码是55579833。重复一次，我们今天的会议有国语的翻译服务，请你拨打我们的国语专线是347-966-4114，我们的 ID 号码是55579833。Mandarin interpretation finished. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see, Jonathan, do you mind doing?
So tonight's in-person meeting will include a public comment period at the end of the meeting. When you comment, please comment on the topic, respect the privacy of others, and please do not include the names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, those attending virtually may raise their hand to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Speakers will be called on one at a time. Will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. If you have a question outside this comment period, please signal it by raising your hand or writing it in the chat. If time permits, we will respond to these additional questions that arise at other times. It is possible that not every comment and/or question will be given time, in which case we encourage you to write to the CEC at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted 1 2-minute comment or question.
Of course.
Councilmember Ana Maria Aguilar. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Present.
Councilmember Jonathan Lucas.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Eby. Councilmember Angelica Jagnavan. Councilmember Basil Kleinendahl. Councilmember Katina Rogers,
Present.
Councilmember Kim Wanless, Councilmember Shimsa Shu, Councilmember Karis Worley Muller, present.
We do not have quorum yet.
Um, all right, before we get started, CEC 15 has a new face liaison. Diana, would you like to take a moment just to introduce yourself? Do you want to come over by the table so that and folks in the room, please feel free to grab some food. There's plenty of food tonight.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Ferris-Miller. And I have been transitioned to be able to support a full partnership with District 15 council members. So I'm going to be a support system for you all and anything you need as a partnership collaboration. This is why I'm here. And I'm here to support you all. And thank you for having me. And it's been amazing. This is my second evening here, and I look forward to continue the partnership support. Thank you so much.
All right, so this is our last CEC meeting of this school year. We've almost made it. Thank you everybody for being here. Given that we are wrapping up this school year, I wanted to take a minute to reflect on the work that the council has done this year. Because we've done a lot, I think. When we first came together last July, we had an almost entirely new group of council members, an amazing group of council members, but we faced a steep learning curve as everyone worked to get their footing, as I tried to get my footing in a leadership role, and as everyone tried to absorb all the information that was required to serve in these roles. But the fact of that newness also created an opportunity for us to build something new together and to establish ways of working that align with our district schools. I think that we've accomplished a lot this year. I hope other folks in the room agree. We started the year by revising our bylaws and changing our meeting tempo to create more breathing room in the calendar. We established thematic working groups to go deeper in key areas and to create more opportunities for parents' voices to be heard. We have passed 6 resolutions this year calling for numerous actions from New York City public schools and city agencies, including protecting students and their families from ICE, supporting gender-affirming schools, supporting better busing, expanding student access to Omni, disengaging with problematic social media platforms, and calling for a 2-year moratorium on student-facing media. We supported an event organized by District 15 families celebrating trans and gender expansive kids, and we hope to offer more support for parent-led events in the future. We led our annual legislative breakfast and experimented with a new format that I think encouraged more dialogue and interaction between community members and elected officials. And then the things that nobody's seen. We've been working behind the scenes, meeting with school leaders, parents, elected officials, and community members on countless topics that affect families every day. Just in the past month since we met last, I've heard from students at MS 442, who I'm hoping will join us for a meeting before too long. They were asking about the possibility of providing education for students about using public transportation safely, especially as middle schoolers are often navigating that for the first time themselves. I've heard from parents at MS 51 about reducing plastic in school meals. I've heard from parents across the district with questions related to pre-K placements and school proximity. Heard from community members concerned about charter expansion and curriculum implementation and much more. It does get overwhelming sometimes, but I feel very lucky to hear from families with their questions, since it broadens my own understanding of what's working and what needs adjustment. We may not have accomplished everything that we hoped. There's always so much more to do, but I think it's really important to take a moment to step back and recognize what we've been able to do in the year so far. Tonight's meeting, we have quite a lot on the calendar portion of the meeting. We'll first hear a report on Brooklyn North High Schools from Yuet Chu. On that note, before I pass things over to Yuet, CEC 15 would like to collectively offer our condolences to Brooklyn North Superintendent Dr. Rochelle White, who recently and tragically lost her son. We're really grateful that Yuet can be here tonight. I know it's been an incredibly difficult period for the community, and we just want to extend all of our care and sympathy to Dr. White and her loved ones. Following the Brooklyn North presentation, we'll hear, I think not from Superintendent Alvarez here tonight, but from our deputy superintendents, as well as two presentations on project-based learning from Principal Shapiro at PS 958 and from Liz Kaufman, an ELA teacher at MS 839. Many thanks to both schools for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. So thanks again to the community for your engagement both tonight and throughout the year. We could not do it without you all. And with that, I would like to pass it over to Yuet Chu. Yuet, are you ready for your presentation?
I am. Thank you, Katina. It is always great to be in community with District 15. Tonight, I just have a brief presentation, just some celebrations, because it's that time of year. So let me get into present mode. There we go. So for new friends here, Brooklyn North High School comprises of 47 amazing schools. We serve 7 community school districts, including District 15. We have about 25,000 students, 42 high schools, 5 secondary schools. Our attendance is clinging on at 88%, and our chronic absenteeism is at 32, which is holding strong for our district right now. And on behalf of Dr. White, we just, we have all been wrapped in love by all our communities, and your good wishes are received, and your kindnesses are appreciated. Dr. White is an extraordinary mom and leader and human, and it has been a tremendous privilege to be able to support her and her family through this time. But throughout all of it, our work remains strong, and we are focusing on implementing our district mission and vision for a strong end of the year. So in September, we look forward to coming back to the CEC with our end of year data. Just like Superintendent Alvarez's team, we're spending time reflecting on the current school year. For us, the summative assessments are just starting. Today was the first Regent exam in ELA, and they will span the next couple of weeks. So our end of year data won't finalize until over the summer. But we are excited. It is graduation season, and you will see our district team out and about celebrating all 47 of our school communities. So just some joy across our district. We have 3 pillars, and Dr. White formulated these 3 pillars when she became the superintendent, and it has grounded us. So leading with love, in our May principals meeting, we asked our principals to each bring a staff member for the district to honor. We met at the beautiful courtroom. District 15 is familiar with the space. This is the borough president's courtroom, where we were able to celebrate our honored staff in style. Leading with love is also about making sure we have no vacancies at the beginning of the year. So we held a tremendous hiring fair and met almost 200 prospective teachers. If you all know of anyone who might be a good fit for our schools, again, our schools run from grades 6 through 12. So middle school licensed people, high school licensed people. This tiny URL is an upload site, and folks can just upload their resumes. All of our principals will have access. And it's not just for teachers, where we welcome folks who are interested in any types of positions in our schools. In the pillar of centering children, this time of year, we always celebrate our student leaders. So my sisters keepers held their annual crowning ceremony over at the Jefferson campus. And then our MBK fellows went up to Albany. Every year, Albany does a state level induction. And this year, representing New York City, were two Brooklyn North High School students. Ariel Segura from Brooklyn Tech and Ethan Ramos from EBC were both inducted as New York State Fellows. And an added bonus, a surprise to us, the keynote speaker was also a Brooklyn North alum, Denver Nesbitt, graduated from Bedford Academy with us, and then went on to successfully complete his bachelor's at Dartmouth. So that was, Denver reminds us of why we do what we do. So you can see the smiles of pride. And then also centering children, your John Jay Jaguars. I don't know if you all know, but the John Jay campus, their athletic organization is insanely good. The baseball team made it to the divisional championship, and sadly, Tottenville squeaked out a win, but we were really proud of them. The women's stunt team had made it to some state final. And then, of course, the legendary volleyball team over at John Jay. We're just super proud of the Jaguars. And then our third pillar is innovating for tomorrow, what we think the type of education and life experiences that we think our kids deserve. So a couple of weeks ago, we all went to the Brooklyn Navy Yard STEAM Center for our annual Science Expo, where students took on real life problems and designed a solution. So these ladies were teaching us how to draw DNA from strawberries. This team from Multicultural created a garbage collection boat to help clean the oceans. This young man, I think his brother came home having had an accident working a conveyor belt. So he's designing a contraption that is going to make conveyor belts safer. And then my personal favorite, these ladies from Boys and Girls High School are designing candles that repel insects, which for someone with O positive blood and a mosquito magnet, these ladies, I am going to personally invest in them and start an Etsy for them because their product is amazing. And then innovating for tomorrow, I'm sure you've heard that the state is officially launching the Portrait of a Graduate, and the intent is to replace, and again, this is very aligned to District 15 and your values about learning. The purpose of the portrait is to replace this idea of graduating by exams. So regions will no longer be the only way that students are assessed for graduation in New York State. The state throughout this coming year will be designing portfolio requirements for multiple ways that students can demonstrate proficiency, not just in content. They will still be required to demonstrate proficiency in content, and I'm hearing that there will be a project-based learning presentation later this evening, very much aligned. The state has determined that these are 6 characteristics that New York State graduates need to demonstrate proficiency in. Being academically prepared, which includes college and career readiness, as well as content area proficiency. Creative innovator, critical thinker, effective communicator, global citizen, and then young adults who are reflective and future focused. So again, I feel like the values of the portrait are very aligned to District 15, and you'll be hearing more from the superintendent's team and us in the coming year.
This was another.
But we are already, we wanted to share just a, always have to include a little bit of data. So for us as a high school district, we have been deep in this work already, just thinking about different ways of bringing experiences that align with the portrait's values. So for us, demonstrating knowledge beyond standardized tests. This year, we have 30 schools that are offering the seal of biliteracy. We have, through AP capstone projects, our students are learning different ways of demonstrating mastery. And then, of course, our legacy CTE programs, as well as our partnership with Future Ready NYC, is offering our students a pathway to be credentialed for industry. 21st Century Skills, we are sending our students out into the world to experience the world, so that global citizen value of Portrait of a Graduate is something that they will have personal and authentic experiences with before they graduate. So this year we had 19 schools, went out and visited 14 countries, and Brooklyn North High School hit 4 continents throughout the school year. And then lastly, work that our district has been involved with for a long time. About 3/4 of our 12th graders are enrolled in advanced courses where they are earning college credits now before they graduate. We have about half our kids in either advanced placement or international baccalaureate across all grades. And that fits in with the reflective and future ready value of Portrait of a Graduate. So more to come on this. The CEP priority 4, which is college and career readiness, will be work that we will be excited to report on as we all learn to adopt the Portrait of a Graduate together next year. And then, as always, just all the different ways to stay in touch with us through our socials, through our website, and our wonderful Parent Coordinators Digest. And from Brooklyn North High Schools, we wish you all a wonderful summer. We look forward to being back in the fall to report on lots and lots of data.
Thank you so much, Yua. It's always so good to hear what's going on. We really appreciate taking time to be here with us.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Yuette? Anybody on Zoom or in person or on the interpretation lines? Any CEC number questions or comments for Yuette?
Yeah, I'll just say I'm so excited about the Portrait of a Graduate. I really cannot wait to see how that unfolds. I'm sure it'll be a big transition, but thanks for keeping us updated on that. No, we're really curious at the elementary and middle school levels to see what kinds of changes that ends up bringing to how assessment is done at earlier stages. So thanks for keeping us posted.
To say it's a long time coming. I feel like this conversation's been happening for 10, 15 years, and it's nice that it actually might happen. So it's exciting to see what the future may bring. Any other comments or questions for the amazing Yuette? No. Thank you, as always.
Thank you so much, Yua. Have a wonderful summer. So lovely to hear. All right, so we will pass it over now to the superintendent's report and to the reports from the schools. Do you all, we have plenty of space at the table.
Do you mind if I come? Is Kim coming? I don't wanna.
Eventually.
Eventually,
But we can also move.
I'll go around. Try to live in this hybrid world.
We officially have a quorum now.
We do?
Yeah. How are you?
Yes. How are you? Thank us.
I have a question for you, Ed. How do you stay so fabulous and so poised throughout it all? You're my inspiration. So I'm gonna try to bring that energy. We were at a citywide conference today with all of the superintendents and deputies. And we were voluntold, and we were directed to wear district logo, which is why we look so fabulous this year. So hello, everybody. Thank you for being here and welcome. And thank you for those joining online. Superintendent Alvarez is speaking on a panel this evening at a conference in the Bronx. So we are here on his behalf, and we have some exciting celebrations to share. We'll hear from two of our schools. And you will hear, and thank you, UAT, for highlighting the portrait of a graduate. You will hear how our schools are already doing some of this work, right, connected to the portrait, and how we'll continue on that strong foundation over the next couple of years in collaboration with all of you. So we're super excited about that transition as well. So we can go on celebrating in June. June is obviously a month of celebration and reflection. And we've been deep in planning with our principals and our assistant principals and teacher leaders and our team. So we're really excited about the work that is happening next year. And over the summer, we'll give kind of a more thorough report, and then the same in the fall. But we have some exciting stuff rolling out around the district professional learning restructuring and cohorting our schools. So we're excited to share that. But of course, we honor Juneteenth, Pride Month, Flag Day, Happy Father's Day to all of our dads, and just congratulating our students who are graduating and those who are stepping up. We're, showing up to a lot of the graduations, and it's exciting to experience those milestones with our students and families. You can move right into it. District celebrations. We 2 days ago had the honor of welcoming Governor Hochul. She came to PS 94 in Sunset Park. This was part of her press conference in announcing this new program called New York Kicks. And it's specifically a World Cup legacy fund. And it's, really around creating soccer access for students in inner cities and urban communities, which is how, they speak about it across the state. And there were $6 million invested in developing this program across New York City, and PS 94 got to participate because they just received this beautiful new soccer field after many years of advocacy and, strong handling of SCA and all the construction work and advocacy that happened. So thank you to PS 94 and Principal Gonzalez. You can see our superintendent there, and the students were super excited to be a part of this moment. Family Day happened last week. It was super exciting. We had over 200 families and students participate. This was also at PS 94. Just really fun activities, bringing students from, and families across the district together, face painting and, organized sports, and just an opportunity to be together on this beautiful day. So thank you for everyone who attended. Next, you'll see the STEM Exploration. This is our third annual STEM Exploration Day in collaboration with the Billion Oyster Project on Governor's Island. So thank you to those families who participated. This is such a great example of Portrait of a Graduate in action, right? Where students are taking what they're learning from this STEM perspective and applying it, right? Monitoring water quality, studying marine ecosystems, looking at biodiversity, and, collecting and analyzing scientific data in this real and meaningful and localized issue. And so this is the kind of work we in District 15 believe deeply in, and the more opportunities we create for our students, the more prepared they'll be to do all the things that you have described, right? In terms of global citizenship, in terms of critical thinking. So more work around this, but thank you to, Neil Singh from our team and all of the students and schools who participated. A few more quick celebrations. we had the honor of welcoming a Grammy-winning musician, Arturo O'Farrill. Students got to participate in this residency to learn about culture and music, and really bringing this creativity directly into classrooms. So this Afro Latin jazz celebration happened. And if you're sort of taking this perspective, like, wow, all this stuff is happening. Sometimes we talk to families and they're like, we didn't know all these things are happening. That's also information that is important for us because we, obviously parent coordinators in schools communicate to their communities more directly than we do, but we also want to think about ways to bridge that gap so that schools and families across the district beyond just a blast and gamma, like how can we strengthen the communication so that not only about the events, but just kind of knowing and understanding some of the work that's happening in the district directly from us. So that's something that we're going to lean on the CEC to get some feedback around. Mandarin family workshop took place, as well as a Bengali workshop. This is aligned to one of our DCEP goals based on family feedback of providing workshops in the home languages that our families speak. So we've had, this workshop, I believe, was centered around math instruction and how to support your children at home. So more on that, but we appreciate the feedback that we've received and that we've been able to make that happen across this is our second year. So we're super excited, and the participation in these workshops has been very high. Next, just shout out to MS 443 and Brooklyn High School of the Arts. As you know, Tweed, which is the official building of New York City Public Schools, hosts a monthly cultural celebration. And last month, the celebration was around Jewish heritage. And so we had students from a chorus program at 443 present, sing. We had a student from BHA share a speech. And so our students really led this work, which was super cool. The chancellor's team reached out to districts and said, who wants to, take this on? And do you have students ready and able and, excited and empowered to be a part of this work? And we did. Our schools show up and our leaders are like, yes, let's make it happen. So there you see them with the chancellor. So that was very, very cool. Next slide. Urban Debate League. This is our third annual year participating across all of our middle schools. Me and Angela got to pop in on this day. Hudson Yards. It was this beautiful space, and students were debating across the entire city. And as you can see, many of our schools did really great. I'm not going to go through each one, but shout out to all of those schools. And we were super excited to be there because we got to hear students debate AI and how it's affecting them in life and in schools. And wow, these are the people who need to write the policy, right? Because they had it. And we were taking notes. We're like, oh, we got to bring that back. So big shout out to them. Next slide. Okay, district highlights. So much to share at the end of the year, but we decided to just share really briefly because we have these presentations tonight, briefly on our Youth Equity Congress and the Adult Equity Congress, which is a district-wide initiative across all of our schools. And you can see specifically for the Youth Equity Congress, they worked on a kindness campaign, and that looked differently in every school. Students facilitated workshops, they put into advisory classes, they developed lessons, they led town halls. So that's just kind of one example around that. We had speakers, they visited each other's schools. And next year is really about action planning, where students are leading this work in their schools because we've been building their capacity, specifically around culturally responsive teaching and learning and restorative justice practices. So we're super excited about that for the looking ahead, that should say the 26-27 school year. And then you can see the showcase deck that two of our team members facilitated last week, and students presented, and their PowerPoints are linked in there as well. So you can see the school specific work that they've been developing this year. Next slide. And this is, when Shahana Hanif visited the City Harvest Day of Service. We took the whole youth equity to Aladdin. We went with them on Broadway. It was really, really exciting, and just honoring the leadership, the student leadership, their advocacy, their activism, just really powerful work to witness. So thank you to everyone who participated. And our Adult Equity Congress is going strong. Schools are developing their CRSE action plans and really looking at
What is CRS?
culturally responsive, sustaining education or teaching and learning, where we're looking at, how students see themselves in the curriculum, the opportunities they have to elevate their voices, their identities, for them to grapple with social justice issues, local, global issues that matter to them. And so that's been a big focus around the Adult Equity Congress, is ensuring that at least one adult in every school has the capacity to facilitate courageous conversations, to really think about how service learning is a part of the curriculum, civic engagement, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to continue into next year. And the thing that we're changing next year or adding into next year is there's going to be job embedded coaching. So our student service managers, in addition to supporting social workers and guidance counselors, they're going to be providing intervisitations between these equity Congress teams, right, for the youth and for the adults, so that they can see strong practices in action and learn from each other, right? How do you facilitate an equity team meeting at your school? How do you bring parents in? How do you audit curriculum through some of these materials and resources like the NYU CRSE report card, right? So there's students have been and adults have been engaging in this work in lots of different ways. So now actually visiting each other in the field is going to be the next phase into next year. Curriculum and instruction. So we invited 2 schools this evening to share with us, and I'm going to pass it on in a moment to my wonderful colleague, Deputy DeFilippis. But we wanted to just talk briefly, on behalf of Superintendent, who, I shared couldn't be here this evening. We know that there were some concerns, conversations at the last meeting around how curriculum and instruction was discussed, and the message around, the teacher's role in not only creating curriculum, but implementing it with students in mind. And so we just wanted to state clearly that, our goal as a district and as a leadership team is to ensure that all of our students have access to rigorous, standards-based, research-based curriculum, right? And we know that that's the core, right? And that's the foundation. We also know that teachers, right? And I was a teacher. We were both teachers for many, many years, almost a decade. We know that, our educators and our teachers, the strongest instruction, right, is when teachers work together in teams to refine and revise the curriculum to meet the needs of their students, right? We all know that's true. We have never in District 15 said, teacher, go follow this, follow the script. We're coming in on Monday and checking lesson, 5A, right? That's not how we operate. That's not what we believe. That's not, how we function. But it's tricky. It's tricky to find this balance around taking this, packaged curriculum and figuring out ways to integrate some of the amazing work that we're talking about, where we're elevating student identities, where we're bringing in interdisciplinary learning, right, across disciplines, where we're motivating and inspiring students to, research topics that matter to them, and really building on the curriculum and finding those entry points. That's the work of teachers and leaders in our schools, and that's the work that we want to continue to develop. But we know that meaningful implementation of any curriculum, right? We're very unique. We have HMH, we have Win Wisdom, we also have IM in the middle schools, illustrative math. Jonathan's going to come from you, my acronym. So, we acknowledge that some schools are doing a better job at this, right? Some schools have, it's like the growing pains of learning a new curriculum and implementing it and building the systems and the structures around what it means to adapt a curriculum, right? How do you adopt it and then you adapt it? And that takes systems and structures around collaboration to do that, right? Because you don't want one teacher in isolation changing it this way and then another teacher. You want it to be a collaborative effort so that all students have access to this amazing learning. So today we wanted to talk about, specifically, Angela's going to go into kind of the work of the district, and then the 2 schools that are presenting their examples for us demonstrate how strong curriculum implementation with project problem-based learning can occur. They are not opposites, right? they can occur simultaneously when done well with an intentionality and with students at the center, right? Who are the students in front of you and how are you meeting their needs and also celebrating their identities? So without further ado, I will pass it to Deputy DeFilippis to share more about the work, and then we'll hear from the two schools.
Well, hello, everyone, and happy June. I'm Angela. I just want to thank everybody for the warm welcome. I'm closing out my first school year as deputy superintendent, so thank you. I also want to take a minute to thank the CEC Executive Board for your tireless work, advocacy, sweat, blood, and tears, hopefully less tears, as well as the parent community who always advocates for their schools. And the staff who really goes above and beyond and coming in new to District 15. I see that with eyes wide open. So I just want to make sure that that is, stated really clearly. And so we appreciate all of you. So to talk a little bit about the commitment and support that we have, one of the things that I'm most proud of and the district is most proud of is the work around project-based learning. And so the district does not see that as an extra. It's seen as something that is embedded in the work that we're doing every day. We see it as a way and a platform to deepen student engagement, innovation, and voice, while also maintaining academic expectations. So over the last 4 years, the district has intentionally invested in building teacher capacity around a variety of supports. They've included district-wide professional learning, partnerships with nationally recognized experts such as Michael McDowell, who's supporting this work with our district team as well as teachers, creating implementation guides, coaching cycles, lab sites. You will see in upcoming slides the PBL Workshare exhibitions and structures to allow schools to learn from each other. And so in continuing to do that, Nicole was talking about the cohort work that we're doing. Our big focus is maintaining this balance, right? And how do we support our teachers with learning and internalizing these lessons so that they can use their expertise to adapt it to the students who are sitting right in front of them, right? So how do you make sense of data teams, curriculum at the foundation in terms of standards, but also bringing in questions and problems that don't have defined answers, right? Because when you're thinking about project or problem-based learning, you're thinking about critical thinking and action. We all know that our kids are going to, interview for jobs that don't exist, right? And so it's not about memorization. It's not about, doing worksheets. It's about thinking. And what do you do when you don't know what to do, right? We've all had that feeling when we took a standardized assessment, right? If you don't know question 1, you begin sweating. By the time you get to 10, you're all frazzled. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the Learning Technology Grant has been able to support this work. It's been a 2.5-year initiative, focusing on these 21st century skills through purposeful technology integration. The grant is focused on 3 goals. The first is teacher professional learning. The second goal is curriculum and instruction. So having teachers work on designing standards aligned projects, develop exemplars, integrate technology in meaningful ways, rather than just using technology for technology's sake. And the third goal is focusing on student outcomes. We want students to be able to actually engage in their learning and engage in authentic problem solving and demonstrate mastery of standards through really rich learning experiences. And some of that is exemplified by the work of practical application, like the Billion Oyster Project that you saw earlier. You go to the next slide. The PBL Workshare and LTG. So this is, has been one of my favorite events. This is a place where students are able to showcase their learning and, more importantly, their thinking. So you can see from examples on the fine slides here that students weren't just completing projects or creating dioramas or poster boards. They were researching, creating, presenting, communicating, and applying what they're learning in meaningful ways. And this is what we want to happen, right? And so the work was super impressive. Nicole was there, Raphael was there, I was there, and kids were pulling us to the area and they're like, we want to tell you about our learning. And so they had us like strapped into VR goggles and they were able to tell me that I have very little focus. So that was great. So I had to try harder, but that was good, we're all growing. You can go to the next slide. And so looking forward, a PBL in 26-27 school year, it's really a shift from this notion of like project-based learning, looking at it as outcome driven. as it is to problem-based learning that I alluded to earlier, and really figuring out solutions, again, to problems that don't have different solutions, right? Like, how can we create conservation or participate in conservation efforts locally? How can we purify water that's around us? How can we fix or come up with solutions, studying adaptations that we're learning in our science curriculum, to how maybe we can come up with different housing crisis solutions? And so this is the work that we're focusing on. We will be tapping into Michael McDowell as an expert in this field. Our team is super excited about that. This naturally integrates the portrait of a graduate work with creating a foundation and a basis of what students are supposed to know and be able to do. And then moving into how do they take this foundational knowledge that they're gathering from curriculum and standards and skills, and then applying it in other contexts. So a large focus of this work is going to be focusing and supporting teachers and schools with understanding lesson internalization, and really providing opportunities for teacher expertise to live in the classroom. So finally, we want to really ensure that this work remains accessible and sustainable. So to support schools, families, community members, we've developed a collection of resources that can be accessed through our website. So you can take a look at the grant overview, implementation resources, project examples. The partnerships have really helped us expand opportunities in learning for both students and our teachers. And so please take a look at the PBL Workshare video. It really captures creativity and collaboration and high quality work that we're very proud of throughout the course of this year. And we also want to shout out our team, who meets tirelessly and plans and supports our teachers, and are super passionate about this work, which is very exciting, I have to say. So together, we want to continue to build this PBL culture in our school community. And so brings us to the most exciting time to hear from the schools. So Principal Shapiro is with us from PS 958 and is talking about the project-based learning that takes place there. So Principal Shapiro, if you are there.
Hi, I'm here. How are you all? Nice
Yay.
to be here. Thanks for having me. I will just introduce myself again. My name is Emily Shapiro. I'm the founding principal at PS 958, and we're a fairly new school. We're finishing up our 4th year, heading into our 5th. We opened in 2022 with 3K through kindergarten, and so this year our oldest students were 3rd graders. We'll be growing to 4th grade next year. So keep that in mind as we talk about the work. Our students aren't quite at, the oldest that they'll get. But I'm excited to be hearing about the portrait of a graduate and all of the work that Nicole and Angela are talking about, because I think we had a unique opportunity being a new school to start fresh and like really designed to be thinking about what students are going to need in the future. And I think we've done a little bit of that. We're still revising the way that we do this every year to make it better and better and more impactful. But I was just going to share a little bit about what goes on at our school and how some of it connects to the box curriculum that we use, Wit and Wisdom and IM, and some of the standards that we make sure that we touch on from social studies, science, et cetera. You can go to the first slide. So we do things a little bit differently at our school. We have a mission around making sure that students with disabilities are included. And so we serve students in 6 to 1-to-1, 12 to 1-to-1, and ICT classrooms. And so rather than doing project-based learning class by class, we do it school-wide. And one reason we do that is to kind of break down the idea of like a high student, a medium student, a low student in terms of academics, and to make sure that all students can access the content through their own strengths and interests. So we come up with a school-wide driving question at the beginning of every year. And we think about like what the kids have been drawn to during that year, the year before, what are the curriculum connections that we need to make, and then we think about that question. After we come up with the question, then the staff has some time to think about what are the connections to that question within their own classrooms, how are they going to make sure that we're addressing the standards, and again, how are we going to make sure that students are interested in and that we're really leveraging their strengths in the work that we're doing. And then we come up with a school-wide map that we that allows students to explore their interests. It helps us develop like their real world skills. And we always make sure that there's a connection to our community, Sunset Park, and over the years, also a connection to the cultures because Sunset Park is extremely diverse, as is our school community. So making sure that there's a lot of thought and representation of the different cultures that are in our school community. And then that learning map goes home with students. I think that learning map is on the next slide. And families and students get to look at it together and think about what are the things that their children would most like to explore. And this is our learning map for this year. So our driving question is, because our celebration is this week, how can we work with our friends and neighbors to make everyone feel welcome, just like at our school? And what I also really enjoy about doing things this way is that we have a lot of teachers who have hobbies and majored in the arts in college. And this is an opportunity for them also to explore their strengths and interests because teachers are people too. So we have a number of staff members who majored in ceramics in college. So it's an opportunity for them to explore that. And these are all the different ways that we're targeting that driving question of how can we help Sunset Park feel more welcoming by using the same strategies that we use inside our school. This is what all of our 3K through second graders participate in. So once everybody has had a chance to review the map and think about their interests, every student 3K through second grade gets broken up into these groups. And every week for an extended period, we have project-based learning time. And you can go to the next slide. And then this year, as we added third grade, and those students have participated in this for 3 years consecutively, we said, now that you've had a chance to explore all of these interests, it's time for you to get to work and help us actually improve our community. And so we launched kid-turnships, which is how this work will expand for our third through fifth graders. And it incorporates a lot of the different mediums that they explored in the lower grades, but in a more practical application. And they actually applied for jobs, had to explain why they were interested. We had help wanted signs around the school. And this year, it was social media and communication. They launched our school newspaper. We have a school merch and design team who's creating all of the school clothing for all of the different projects that students are doing, as well as the merch, like the spirit wear for our school. And we launched our student government. And then as third, fourth, and fifth grade grows, the opportunities in kid-turnships will also expand to more different programs. So the way it kind of goes, and I really agree with what Nicole was saying about curriculum and the nuance that's required to both make sure that we're meeting the standards and, following the standards with fidelity. We really spend September to November setting ourselves up to make sure that we're not going to have any academic gaps. So there's a big focus on building foundational skills. We have a really robust structured literacy period that's similar in the way that we rotate students based on strengths and needs. And we really take our assessment and data analysis very seriously before we get into this more fun kind of application of things, because we want to make sure that we're not going to have any gaps when we do launch our project-based learning, which it does take time away from doing some of that other foundational work. And we want to make sure that we're set up for success. So from September to November, it's all of that kind of back to basics, concrete curriculum assessment data following. And then we launch project-based learning in January by rolling out the question and the map and setting up our groups. And then students work weekly, as I said. And in June, which it's coming up on Thursday, we're going to have our celebration. And so I just wanted to share some of the different ways that the different groups that we have going align with curriculum. So here's our a social studies map with the different topics that are covered in New York State and some examples of how that is connecting. So I taught podcasting this year, and we interviewed locals from Sunset Park and explored how the community has changed over time, and understanding community and how communities change and how families immigrate are embedded in across, as you can see, kindergarten through fourth grade curriculum and social studies. And the ceramics and dance groups both explored forms of expression, food, art from cultures that are represented in our communities. So again, like communities around the world, self, others, family, there are a lot of direct connections. And as I said at the top, all of the groups explore the meaning of community as a concept and the impact an individual or group can have, which are also connected to these social studies concepts. And then just a little more specific with wit and wisdom, and I'm glad I put my glasses on. Here are some of the different units that we're teaching in wit and wisdom and the ways that these different topics are covering it. So interior design is building like a cozy space for sensory regulation, and they're exploring how our environment can impact our feelings. So they're learning about the five senses in kindergarten. They're learning, the arrow is in the wrong place. That was supposed to be to the five senses. I apologize. In kindergarten. And so the way that the five senses impact the way that we have our sensory regulation, impact the way that our environment set up is all connected there. Animal habitats is learning about animals and how they adapt in Sunset Park. And creature features. These arrows are not in the right place. Something happened to my slide. Creature features in the first grade is all about animal adaptations. Merchant design, they were studying civil rights heroes in the second grade, and they were studying heroes from outer space in the third grade. And then they had a special edition women's history tote where they got to then use the images of those folks that they were learning about and did a sale for their women's history tote that was the direct application of the heroes that they were learning about. And the restaurant studied how restaurants can accommodate individual dietary needs, how they can help communities make healthy choices. And there's a unit on good eating in the second grade. So some really clear direct connections. You can go to the next slide. And then for math, these are pretty, I think, clear connections. Our bake sale PBL was doing some fundraising for some local community organizations, and they had to use fractions for the baking portion, numbers and operations to keep track of the funds that they raised, and setting goals and figuring out how much more they needed, how much more would they need to sell, what else were they going to have to make, how many more sales, and keeping track of the money. The block design group studied maps and geometry so they could build a model of a more accessible Sunset Park. Merchant design uses a lot of measurement to figure out the proportions of the heat transfers that they need, and then measuring out on the actual charts, like where they need to place things. And event planning was using counting and cardinality skills to keep track of school-wide votes. They kept track of the budget and the total deductions as they were purchasing things. They actually planned our annual block party this year. So the students decided all of the activities that we were going to have. They created the materials for it, and they also purchased everything and kept track of the budget that the PA allotted for them. So these all integrate core math skills, and they have real world applications as well, directly connected to the community that our students are living in. And it all culminates, just to make it really concrete, in a big celebration. And this is exactly what the families are going to show up and see on June 11th. And if you're interested, you're also welcome to stop by. It's ongoing from 9:30 to 11, and it's a chance for kids to showcase what they've learned. And so, as I said, I'm in the podcasting group. We're having a listening party for our second season of our podcast. Some of our students in the Kidternship for newspaper were published in the Sunset Post recently, and so they're going to be outside of the local coffee shop handing out copies of their newspaper. And so we're having a film screening for our documentary film group, who interviewed all of the local community organizations about the resources they have available. And it's a really exciting day for our school and an opportunity for students to show what they've learned. So that's kind of how it looks in our school. As I said, it's something that we're constantly discussing and trying to improve and think more deeply about. And as we get to fifth grade, things will shift and change, but it's my personal favorite day of the year is this celebration. And I'm really proud of this structure that we've come up with.
Emily, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Emily, or you feel good? Okay. And Emily, yes, teachers are people too. So our principals, CEC members, and parents, although sometimes it's not easy. Okay.
They have interests. They have lives outside of school.
I think you should have your students design a T-shirt that says teachers are. I would absolutely wear that. So thank you so much.
That's it with the merchant design team. Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
Let them know. Thanks. Okay, fantastic. So we want to also give you a little perspective on how this is applied on the middle school level. So we have Donna from 839 who will has provided us with a video showing the work that was done by their ELA team. And we can show the video. And then if anybody, Donna will give some context after that. Isn't it? Yeah.
Audio.
They're not able
There's
to
no
get an
audio. Did that dialog box pop up where you have to click like share audio? That happens.
While we do some clicking, could I maybe introduce the video?
Perfect, Donna. Thank you.
So we call vamping in the business that I'm not in. My name is Donna. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an assistant principal at middle school 839 in Kensington, the southern tier. Oh, and this is Murray, a first grader at 130, who I'm a parent of and is joining the Zoom. Great. And what's that?
He's a person too, Donna. Yeah, there you go.
He is always excited when I'm presenting on a Zoom. So middle school 8 through 9 opened about 11 years ago. We just celebrated our 10th year last year, and opened with a commitment to implement the EL model of schools, which in addition to character-based education and community-focused leadership also has an emphasis on project-based learning. And so it's been the work of the school to really develop projects that get kids into the community, get them out on field work, and help them see themselves not just sort of as consumers of the knowledge, but makers and solvers of real world problems. And so initially, when we started to implement the curriculum, it was a real shift to see that how using an evidence-based curriculum could support that work and not replace it. And I guess the perspective that I'd like to bring as a school leader is just a really practical one, which is teachers have a shockingly little amount of time to meet together during their school week. It's because they spend most of their time with your kids, which is actually a great thing. And so I'm always on the pursuit of anything that will help that meeting do deeper, better work faster. And so I think it's really powerful for teachers when they meet to start with a curriculum, to start with a lesson plan, to enhance, refine, adjust for the students in that room. And so what we're able to share with you, hopefully with audio, is 3 teachers who are on a team together, our 8th grade ELA team, Sadina, who's our ENL teacher, Liz, who is one of our 8th grade ELA teachers, and then Anna, who's a special education teacher. They meet at least weekly, often daily, to adjust our wit and wisdom curricula and daily lesson and experiences to meet the needs of the kids in their classroom. And this is their 2nd year now working with the 8th grade wit and wisdom curricula. And so this is a project that they enhanced. The roots of wit are definitely within the wit and wisdom modules. But what you'll hear is how they swapped out and changed some text, brought in some experts, and were really able to take the poetry portfolio to the next level. So I'm hoping the audio now works. If not, I'll provide voiceovers poorly.
Yeah, I don't have
so
an option here.
folks will have to watch it on their own.
Yes.
Please
So
watch it.
If we play it loud enough here, can you then hear it through the speaker?
I think it's
It's
coming out of
okay
the
here.
same speaker.
Oh, it's the same.
Oh,
Like
wait,
with the
how about, what if I play it? We'll do it at the same time. You wanna try? Let's be
Just try to-
innovative. Practice will be preached.
Troubleshoot.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
From the beginning.
Can you hear that echo?
Can you question your life choices? All right. Did they hear it?
No.
All right.
What is that?
Oh, yeah. Donna, do you have the video and you can share it?
Do it
I
all.
I do. I just sent a request to share.
Best.
And now I've been gained access. It's as if we learned nothing during COVID. I used to be so good at this.
Something happened. Something happened.
I think it's just like. Yeah.
It's over.
All right, we'll give it. Should we give it one more try?
Yeah.
Oh, share sound. That seems important.
Donna.
It hasn't worked yet.
No.
Yeah, we can hear it.
We hear it.
Yes.
Yes.
The essential question is, what's the power of storytelling? And we started by actually looking at some artwork. Romare Bearden has this very cool piece called The Block. And so we looked at different textures in the artwork and really talked about this question of like, how does form impact meaning? And then we got into some spoken word from Elizabeth Acevedo and then segued into the Poet X. And the Poet X is written in poetic verse. And so each poem is a different poetic type. And so students sort of like follow this journey of Xiomara's life.
But then there was a shift where they used the text as a mentor text.
In our poetry portfolios, students created a title that represents either a key line from one of their poems, a big idea, or something to grab our attention. Each student also has a cover letter where they describe the journey to choosing an idea and why it's important to them, and then they walk readers through or listeners through their creative choices, why they chose each poetic type, why they chose a shaped poem for one, a haiku for another, for example, and specific things that they were aiming to convey through that poetic form. And then they have 3 separate poems that flow together to share their story. And poetry is often less beautiful when it is shared, when it is spoken, when it is experienced and heard. And so we reached out to the New York Poetry Cafe, Paul Lepore, who goes as a poet by Paul Conqueso. He graced our morning meeting stage and performed for our entire school with a really cool call and response poem. And then he did workshops with all 4 of our classes, helping them during their writing and revision process.
Both analyzing that and then having students apply that in their own writing really gets them to think critically about how to use their voice as powerfully as possible.
This project doesn't only illustrate how our students have grown as readers and writers and the academic skills that they developed. I think the most special part of this project is that it represents how they've grown as humans.
A lot of students, once they had an idea to write about, experienced a different kind of success as writers than what they often have. I think the power of poetry is that it allows kids to step outside of the rules in some ways. To me, showed a lot of complexity.
And of the truth that all of our stories really do matter.
Yay.
We did it.
Thank
did
you,
it.
Donna.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. We appreciate it. Thank your teachers and Emily as well. Thank your teachers. So the next slide highlights some dates for next year for district initiatives. So January 14th, we just love the video. We're gonna play it again. Is a day of service. February 11th will be our D15 Arts Showcase. April 16th and 17th will be our musical. The 15th of May will be the STEM Exploration Day. June 3rd will be our recognition ceremony, and June 10th will be the D15 Field Day.
You have the PBL day.
We do not have the
Not yet.
PBLD yet. We work with Michael McDowell to set that up. And again, thank you to the CEC, and we would say parents at large for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. It's easier.
So is there anybody either here in person or joining us on Zoom that has a question for either of the principals who shared or for our deputy superintendents? Oh, and Courtney, yes. No relation.
No.
Uh,
PS that parent.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, I just want to say that the PBL presentations were wonderful, and I loved hearing all of the things that the schools are doing. I was just, did I understand correctly that there's a technology aspect to this initiative? Or did I misunderstand that?
Yes. Yes, it's a learning technology grant. So in partnership with an organization like Take Two and others that support students in using multimedia to present their projects and to express their ideas. And that looks like different things. But if you look at the website, you can learn more about that, and we have that linked.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and
Yes.
the website, you mean the Take Two website?
The district's PBL website.
The district's PBL website? to
Yep.
see the-
It's linked in the presentation.
Okay, and it'll show like what the programs.
No.
Yes. The main one's been Take Two Film Academy, but there have been others connected to specific projects, and you can learn more about that on our PBL website.
It's also to capture the process, right? So instead of just the ultimate outcome of the answer to whatever the hypothesis was that the kids had, it's more about how are kids brainstorming questions, and they come in and they record that. They record the kids coming up with questions and doing the research and the process behind that PBL.
So basically, it's mostly multimedia.
Yes.
About that.
Great, thank you. Luis, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. I'm Luis Miranda. I'm a parent in two kids that go to 456 PS 456. I'm also I'm sorry if this question was already answered before. I'm trying to stay connected while parenting two kids over here. So I'm a bilingual educator too, with training in progressive education. I want to ask about how District 15 is supporting multilingual learners and dual language programs as the schools implement the city's mandated literacy curriculum. The reason I'm saying this is that there are recent reports and statements from organizations that advocate for multilingual learners have raised concerns that these curricula were not designed with bilingual students in mind and may not reflect what research tells us about how children learn to read and write in two languages. As both a parent and an educator, I know that multilingual learners need instruction that builds on their home language, values their cultural and linguistics assets, and allows teachers the flexibility to respond to students' needs. And I was wondering, can you share how the district is evaluating the impact of the mandated curriculum on multilingual learners, and what supports are being provided to dual language programs to ensure that students can thrive in both languages? Thank you.
Sure, I can start off. So first and foremost, yes, to your question and comments. Yes, teachers need to provide that support to their students, and they need to do that in planning. And from the district's perspective, the way in which we're focused on that this year, and we'll continue that work next year, is through the lens of adaptations for all learners. So whether students may be learning English as a second or third language, or they are learning it in conjunction with the language that they speak already, or students are just learning differences, right? Focusing on who the students are who are in front of us, and giving the teachers the tools to be able to annotate lessons and provide those adaptations for students. District 15 is unique in that they use, or we use, HMH and Wit Wisdom, and HMH does come with a Spanish curriculum alongside of it, so it provides an additional support. Our students are assessed and screened with the Acadience assessment to identify how students are performing with prerequisite standards and skills for each grade, and all students are assessed, and they are that assessment is in English. There is a dual language component, and your principal can support you with getting, the data for your particular child or student on how they are doing with progressing in the dual language program.
Yeah, and there's the NICESLAT assessment, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which schools use to assess students around, speaking, listening, reading, writing. And so that informs instruction, but, curriculum does not teach students, right? Like alone, teachers do. So teachers are consistently making adjustments, providing language scaffold supports, pulling students for small groups, right? And that happens through the curriculum, right? Using the curriculum as a foundation, and the curriculum has supports for L's for students with IEPs. Wit and Wisdom has those resources, as does HMH. So the expectation is that teachers are coming together in teams, looking at data, planning for their individual students, whether that's a specific learning need or a language need. On our team, we have MLL instructional coaches who work with our MLL coordinators in all schools, but also provide professional learning connected to what Angela mentioned around adaptations for all learners and how to leverage small group instruction. So those are, some of the quick kind of things we can share, but we're happy to, and we've done this in previous presentations, look specifically at our MLL learners across the district and share more specific data, especially as we end the year and begin collecting the end of year assessment. And we'll be able to, share that data more specifically in the fall, but also in the summer, we'll be able to share that too with the CEC.
Thank you. I think Zakmari, you have a question?
Yes. Hi. Thank you. I'm also here trying to listen to everything while I
manage children at home. We've all been there. Yeah.
I'm also a parent at 456.
You're breaking up a little bit.
We're having trouble hearing your audio. Why don't you try one more time?
The streets around our school.
Sorry, Zakmari, the audio is really choppy. Would you mind putting your question into the chat and we'll read it out loud? Sorry, we know you're juggling kids as well.
Yeah.
I just got up the Wi-Fi. Maybe you can hear me better now?
I can hear you better now, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I was I said that I'm a parent of 456, just as Luis is, and just wanted to know if there are any updates regarding our open streets applications. As you know, the location is pretty crazy in terms of traffic, and it feels very unsafe. We have to cross a few big streets, and just the cars really run the streets. They do whatever they want. So just wanted to know if there's any way that we can know what's going on with the open streets application.
We've been in communication with some of the PTA members at your school, and of course your principal, about this issue. And I'm sure you know that the application is submitted to the Department of Transportation, right? We don't receive that application or approve it or deny it. If there's anything we can do in terms of attending a meeting to support and advocate for the community, we're happy to do that. But that question should really be directed to DOT because that open streets application is not within our office, and we don't really have, any say in the matter. We would love for you to have more space. So we know that you do have an outdoor space, which was part of the SCA project to ensure students at least had that. But of course, understand that open streets would be ideal. And if there's, again, any way that if there's an opportunity for us to attend a meeting or, write a letter, we're happy to participate. Our superintendent is happy to support in any way that we can.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Pamela, did you have an additional question about the open streets?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it's an additional question because it sounds like that it is something Department of Transportation is ultimately responsible for, but if there is anything more we can do on our end in terms of letter writing campaigns or offices we can reach out to, there's a lot of the tricky part about the outdoor space in our building is that it's small and it's only going to start to feel smaller as a school grows. Right now, it's only 3K through first grade. Second grade, we're going to add, 70 more kids every year after that. And there's no playground structure there. We also are planning, I'm part of the enrichment committee, and we're planning to add a biking program as part of second grade life skills. So, being outdoor focused, being progressive, and really wanting to offer those kind of life skills to kids, I feel like having open streets or even having, some way to redirect traffic is something that is a very much a top issue. And I think as the school grows, it's only going to become more and more of an issue.
Question.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the mom of a kindergartner at 154, and I also have a rising 3K and 280. And my question is about, as the technology comes more into PBL, as I know you guys just said, there was the AI debate, as we're getting more and more ed tech products in, at our school, we have one. There's one ed tech product that is the reason my kindergartner got an iPad. And so I just want to know how we're, as a district, thinking about whether or not these products are research backed, and how, as we're bringing them in for PBL, for along with the curriculum, for any kind of support, what kind of process they're going through at the district level before they get to the kids.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. It actually happens at the central level. So there is a review process that Central goes through with their DIIT team to evaluate the, safety of the programs in terms of, student information, in terms of the way in which it could be used in conjunction with curriculum. And once that is approved, then schools have a database where they can access whether or not Central has approved it, and then it can be implemented into schools. But it is a very rigorous process. We do have documents that we've shared in previous CEC, but I'm happy to get that to you too, that goes through that IRMA process and what does that look like, right? And so if a technology program is not approved through Central, schools don't pass go or collect $200 with using the program. But obviously teachers do the best job at teaching students. And sometimes, there are opportunities for technology to supplement or to quickly assess students that helps give teachers some information. And so once these tech programs are approved, then we subsequently sign off on that.
I guess I'm questioning less the safety and more the research. When we're being told that it's not the product they're using is not curriculum, we're being told it's curricular, but there is no research. It's never been researched on kindergartners, on first graders. The data on second graders was so bad the company throw out the second grade data from their marketing materials. And this is the reason K through 2 has iPads, Chromebooks, one-on-one devices.
Because of this program.
Because of this one program.
Yes.
And so, sorry.
No.
I was just saying, I've been following all that's what's happening with the one-on-one devices that the teachers use coming out against them. And it's when I see this product that doesn't have any research is the reason there's an iPad. And for my kindergartner, for me, it's just about the kind of the research backed aspect.
To substantiate it or how the school is using it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great question and concern. I too have a first grader as someone who's 3 who will be coming into the school system, right? And so as a parent, I do try to keep my kids off of technology as much as possible. So I think that in looking at how the school is using it, we can talk to the principal specifically and get some information about the product.
Okay.
What, do you know offhand the name of it?
Yeah, it's called ST Math.
Sure.
It comes up, it's from Mind Education. I know it's not used a lot in the DOE.
Yeah, I can get your email and we can.
That'd be great, thanks. And I can share all my research with you because I've read all the papers.
100%, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Parents are people too, yes, thank you. Absolutely not.
And that's really excellent feedback
Yeah.
too. I don't know if you completed the survey, the feedback survey that was out there is that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think that we haven't heard specifically about the research and the impact and, you know, the instructional components and how it connects to the curricular, et cetera. So I think those are conversations we have with individual schools. We've talked to schools specifically about ST Math and other digital tools, but I think having that component a part of the process around vetting these tools and how they're implemented and why and based on what research, I think that's a really important point, and hopefully that will be a part of the guidance, that the process that's released. But we'll definitely pass that on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Is it required for?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not allowed to, there's no choice.
My kids do ST Math and really quickly bored of it. The math was not age or grade appropriate but it's voluntary. It's not required at our school.
That's interesting.
39.
ST Math.
A little penguin.
Yeah, Gigi.
Yeah.
You're all over it.
Something you cannot opt out of because of curriculum or mandatory, so that's interesting that your school.
So curriculum, it's not a curriculum.
Curriculars.
So I'm gonna give it,
I think this may actually be just important to elevate, and thank you for raising that question. I think you asked about what is happening at the district level to vet what kind of research goes into determining which of these products go into the classroom. I would actually, I think as a council, I'd want to elevate that question to the central to really understand what kind of research, what kind of vetting is done on the on the pedagogical, like the research substantiating why these companies, these tech companies get contracts with the New York City Public Schools in the first place before they get into these registers where they're deemed to be approved by various superintendents or districts and then brought into the classroom. I think that's where we would want to, ask a question on behalf of parents at District 15. And you might have heard about the resolution we passed last month.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And I think the resolution gets at that. I mean, it was more specifically targeted at AI focused ed tech programs, but I think it's a broader question of when so many of these ed tech companies come in with a proposed solution because what Donna mentioned about the time constraints is so real. The resource constraints are real. And so when a company comes in and proposes something that will help, I think that it often gets adopted more quickly than is advisable for instructional reasons, and then once it's in, it's very hard to get it out. So I agree. When we're on council member, are we on council member?
We can be.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if there's any more from the public. Any other questions from people on Zoom, or I think you both have asked questions already. You can ask more, but
we'll be here.
Any other questions on the interpretation lines or from anybody else on Zoom? Okay. Yeah, Alicia.
Hi, I'm a representative of the Borough President's Office. Is now a good time to go and give a short, brief rundown of what we've been doing, or will that be in a second?
And it's Alicia, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Alicia, we'll come back to you after we're done with the
Perfect.
superintendents.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So let's move to council member questions or comments. Katina and then Angelica and then others.
Yeah, Kim.
And Kim as well, maybe? Okay.
I think my question sort of connects the questions that have been coming up in the room with the presentations we heard earlier. It was so great to hear from you both, Principal Shapiro and Vice Principal Donna. I forgot your last name. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It's so clear how much care and design has to go into creating projects, systems like this at the school level, right? And Donna, what you were saying about how hard it is to like get enough time for teachers to meet together and the constraints that you have during the day, the week, the month, feels very real. And so what I'm wondering is what, for you both, like, what can you imagine at the district level or at the city level that would make it more possible for other schools to implement the kinds of work that you're doing in your schools? Like, what would it take to make that just a little bit easier, you know?
We don't know that here.
Are they not here
They
anymore?
both may be gone.
Oh, rats, I really wanted to catch
We
them.
will continue that conversation and happy to
Okay.
connect you or share their responses.
All right, thank you. Shoot,
I mean, I can say one thing I know that they would
yeah,
say,
that would be great.
which is, I mean, the contract is important for a lot of different reasons, and also there are constraints, right? Whether you're in an elementary, middle, or high school level, I think leaders try to capitalize on, a common prep time, opportunities for grade meetings or department meetings, adding a sixth period of, weekly planning and professional development. But time is always what is discussed from my perspective as the number one challenge. And teachers, right, their number one responsibility is to be in classrooms with students, obviously providing instruction, but we know that the planning and the preparation is so important when you're planning for your specific students and adapting curriculum in all the ways that we know is meaningful. So, I mean, I think that's the main thing that they would say, because in a lot of our schools, we're building teacher capacity. Schools are using protocols to support with planning, to support with data analysis, to support with differentiation. But it's always rushed. We're in schools all the time. We pop into a grade meeting or a common planning time, and there's so much to do. There's so much to get done. There's so many students to serve and families to communicate with. So I think that they would say that is the number one barrier, but they may have a more nuanced, dynamic response, and I will be sure to reach out to them.
Yeah, it's like part of what I'm wondering is, are there ways that if we've got these curricula that are in place citywide, are there ways at the district level that we could support teachers and principals in like making it clear where there could be some hooks for integrating it with project-based work and problem-based work? Given that those prep times are so crunched, like if there was, I don't know, it's a band.
It's a great point, and that part of that restructuring, right? And there's a lot of visuals that we can show you with multiple arrows. But the idea is to build the teacher capacity at the schools with providing these opportunities and these entry points for teachers to integrate this work into the curriculum that's there. And so the idea is to bring a teacher leader, 1, 2, or 3, from a school to our district team to provide that support, and then engage into visitations within the cohort to learn from the best practices throughout the schools that are encapsulated in these cohorts. And so, and again, the partnership that we have with Michael McDowell and the PBL work and the work that our team has been engaging in for the last 4 years, that's what we really do want to integrate into the curriculum, right? And then also find other opportunities in science and social studies where this lives really naturally. And so how it can be integrated into some of the themes that are within the unit plans of both math and ELA.
It's just on that point, I met with the district principal today and I'm meeting with another tomorrow around these issues.
Sure.
And one of the great things that came out of the meeting today was that the principal has already drafted surveys that she's going to give out to the students and then to the teachers to get their perspective on how the integration is going and what they can do and what can change. And then they're gonna try to gather that data, assess it, and see what they can do to move forward, because they're now in, a few years into, as a middle school, a few years into the integration, and they're trying to figure out how can they better align the project-based work that they want to be doing and will be doing with keeping that fidelity to the curricula, and they feel like they're in a good place to do that, but they don't want to move forward without the perspective of the students.
And that makes sense,
and
right? You want to
understanding.
build off their own
Right.
interests also, right?
Right, and so I even asked if she'd be willing to share what those questions were and some of the results, because I feel like that could be a template for what other schools could be doing in terms of data gathering and analysis to, to figure out what some next steps forward beyond figuring out time and space and structuring
Absolutely.
the schedule. So I just wanted to put that out.
Definitely share.
Also, sort of on the same note, I know that when Wit and Wisdom was really rolling out, there were so many times when teachers were pulled out to do the training, right? That was a huge component of it. I wonder if there is a way for that to happen, but to share how they've tweaked, like a representative from each grade team from each school comes to be able to say like, okay, this is the second grade Wit and Wisdom curriculum. These are all the different ways that people have tweaked it, because I think there's certainly, I know our school is looking at it from an equity lens. How can we add maybe different texts or add different things from an equity lens? Other groups are doing it for PBL. There's so many different ways that one could find a hook. But as we're saying, considering all the time constraints, it feels like it would be great if there were now 2 or 3 or however many years in.
Sure. And that's a great point. So we have principal meetings monthly and assistant principal meetings monthly, and now also bringing in teacher leaders to build like the on the ground capacity. But as part of that work with our principals and APs respectively, we have professional learning communities that they engage in. And so it's working with teachers specifically to figure out how to integrate these things, how to consider the students that are in front of them, which they know how to do, right? How do you do that within the context of the standards and skills of focus? And then it's looking at, through the assistant principal lens, how is this work going as they're doing their walkthroughs? Where do they see the work needing to be? Where do they need more support? Where do they see successes, right? And so having that work is come full circle, right? Working with teachers on the ground, and then looking at how the implementation is going through the AP conferences, those PLCs, and then what are the systems and structures that are needed. And that's part of the conversation with our principals. How are they setting up these structures at their schools? And so people have a lot of great ideas. So they say the answers are in the room. So like, this is the way in which we want to do that. But that survey sounds great as well. So please share.
Yeah, so my question was very much in line with Katina's around just kind of finding commonalities around project-based learning. So I won't repeat it, but I will share one of the things that Principal Shapiro shared was as part of their grade 3 curriculum, doing something around communities around the world. And my school did something similar in my daughter's 3rd grade class last year. They did a project-based learning around the immigrant experience. So as part of their curriculum, they were split into groups where each group made a documentary around understanding the immigrant experience. And they interviewed people in their families, friends in the community, family, friends, just to really learn more about each other and members of their community. And it was the specific, the teacher, he himself happened to have a background in like film, and there was a parent in our school community who was a filmmaker who came in and did a lesson for the kids on how to use the technology they used was Adobe. So like how to record, how to cut film. They learned how to do voiceovers and insert graphics, like all these cool things that I don't know how to do. So like my daughter was at home, like doing voiceovers around like 19th century immigrant experience. It was so cool, and it was so special, and like so aligned with the school's values as well. And they formed their own ideas around the immigrant experience and how we should welcome others in the community. And at the end of the school year, they showcased their documentary about the Nighthawk, which is really special. They like donated the proceeds to a local organization as well. So anyway,
that's a common thread. It sounds like 958 is doing that, so maybe there are.
Right.
And that certain things.
And I just want to add one thing that, we don't always say everything because there's so many things to say, but to that point, the PBL grant and the work the last couple of years, every school has a PBL ambassador and they're meeting together monthly to develop this work. So some of what you're seeing didn't happen coincidentally. It happened because teachers are planning and finding those connections and finding those hooks. Now that we've implemented the curriculum district-wide and we have this common, this common thread, we're all speaking the same language, whether we love the curriculum or we're, critical of it, it's an opportunity for us to now do this work district-wide. And that is the focus for next year with our schools being cohorted. So every school is in a cohort. There's 5 cohorts and 8 schools within each cohort. And our team, in collaboration with these other partners, are facilitating intervisitations, professional learning communities. So this coming year is really our opportunity to kind of bring it all together. Now that there's a strong foundation, how do we adapt and build on, the problem-based, project-based work? But how cool if that was like grade 3 across the whole district, right? And then there could be, celebrations and cross-school collaboration around, and not just with teachers, but students and families. So, you're sparking an idea of like how to deepen it even more. But I think this is a great opportunity and a great moment to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Though I will say, I know that this particular teacher, he spent a lot of his nights at helping to kids only can learn so much. So he did a lot of editing in his own time. And, it's definitely a commitment for sure. It was certainly worthwhile.
And that actually echoes something that Kim put online. She's looking for parking. So she wanted to ask her question, but she's so glad that people are recognizing the need for time for teacher collaboration and planning. And that also requires support. She's wondering, to what extent can funds be allocated to provide planning time for teachers before or after school? And I might add to that, how can we make sure that we're not reliant on grant funds for, for integrating this work in longer term?
So if principals don't have common planning time or 6-period prep, they can also use the Monday PL time that's built into the schedule. It's 155 minutes a week. That can be utilized for common planning time, and within teachers' budgets, I should say schools' budgets, they can allocate procession time for before and after school teacher planning, although that would be contingent upon teachers wanting to come in earlier or stay later. But that would be within the construct of the school and that community, but that is always an option.
And this year, one of our mandates, which is an exciting mandate, right? It's not always a bad thing, is that every school has identified a teacher ambassador, and we are now meeting with them monthly. We actually have our first meeting with them tomorrow. So every school identified 1 to 2 teacher leaders who are facilitating this work, and they are now visiting one another's classrooms or opening up lab sites, all connected to what we're discussing here. So this is really exciting, even though it's not like the per session thing, but it's the building capacity thing and sustainability in terms of what you're talking about.
And is the idea to support, because as you I think most of us know, there are teachers that are like, this is my passion, this is what I'm going to do. And then there are other teachers that are more reticent to take on this kind of work. And so is the hope that by building this capacity and buy-in to also support those educators who are more reluctant to do this kind of PBL work moving forward, so that students, it doesn't depend on which teacher they get, that all students across the district can have this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why the planning is so important and having those planning structures. But yes, the idea is that students have quality educational experiences, no matter what school and no matter what classroom. But we all know that peer-to-peer learning, right? When you have teachers facilitating meetings for teachers and collaborating on this work, the same thing as, principal to principal, right? Like that, they're really able to inspire one another, hold each other accountable, and build off of the strong practices that are already in place. So we're just building off of like that legacy in District 15, that this is the work we've been doing for so many years. But now we have this focus around tier 1 core instruction, explicit instruction, specifically tier 1 small group, and then the adaptations for diverse learners. So every cohort has a more finite problem of practice that's aligned to to our district's instructional priority. So now we're seeing kind of these smaller groups do the work that, is not just like 42 schools, but you're with your 8 schools in your cohort. There are lab site visits. You meet during the principal and the AP and the teacher ambassador. Those are 3 different respective times throughout the month. So we have a structure now that's really about peer-to-peer learning, job embedded coaching, and kind of like the presentations of our team and the PowerPoints, like that's going on the shelf. It's all about theory to practice and learning from, teachers in the classrooms and, leveraging data and using the planning protocols, so that this work is more coherent and streamlined across. So no matter what school, no matter what, if you get an Emily Shapiro, if you get, right, a Donna and a Michael Perlberg, right, you kind of know that the school's going in that direction, and the expectation is we're building that leadership and capacity across the board.
And I also just want to like name or stamp that, this idea of PBL, right, problem-based learning is, yes, a lot of times there's a culmination in some type of project, right? But it is about the process. And so even in a regular lesson that you would find in a tier 1 classroom, like understanding, and I know we have educators and researchers here, but I think that it's really important to say that, like, thinking about the cognitive demand of questions that we ask students, right? And teachers really understanding that can be integrated into one of the lessons or all of the lessons, I would dare say, in all of these curricular options, right? And it's the teacher's expertise and finesse in getting kids to think about, because like that's how we assess them on the spot, right? Like you have a 45-minute lesson with a group of kids and you want to understand, what do you know by the end of this, right? So you create a learning target. And so like, how are you going to measure that throughout the course of the lesson? And questioning, whether it's verbal or through some type of written assessment, is the way in which we measure that during that period. We don't wait for a screener, and we don't wait for a state task. Like we're doing that in real time. And so we really want to build that muscle. So I do want to say that the PBL, share fair is spectacular and I love it. And, I was a principal of a STEAM school for over 10 years. And so this is kind of like my passion. But I do think that it lives in regular everyday classrooms, right? And that cognitive demand and questioning is something that's not like a separate project. So, and that's the work that we're really doing next year, so.
And Kim just followed up. Is there additional funds? So Kim, do you want to just ask it? Say your hand up.
No, I just wanted to say that principal was very humble and she ran an excellent STEM school in another district, so we won't mention it. But go ahead and ask my question.
You can ask, you're on now.
Okay, no, so the question I had was about funding. I kind of wanted to put you guys on the spot. Like, we know that support is a phrase that we use all the time, but is it possible to find room in the district budget to support principals in getting teachers to meet before and after school?
We as a community really appreciate your advocacy. You should see our budget. It's pretty terrible. But when we say support, right, it's providing resources, it's providing thought partners, it's providing systems and structures, from professional learning, job embedded coaching, moral support, prayers, and so on and so forth. That being said, from the finance perspective, we do the grant writing, right, to get this money to help support. But now at this point moving into year 5, we're continuing to build that capacity. And again, we're trying to do that within the constructs that schools and principals have created already. If there is funding in ways that we can support, we absolutely will. But we're also trying to use time strategically and effectively to make sure that, we're using every minute to engage our folks.
Thank you.
Any other council?
Yeah, one, and I've been trying to organize it. It's a lot of scattered thoughts that I'm trying to put together. But I think I understood that there are now liaisons for project-based learning from every school.
So there's always been.
There's always been. And then schools are meeting in groups of 8 in cohorts. Are these the liaisons that are?
They might be, yeah, so we have schools identifying teacher leaders that are also affectionately known as ambassadors who are doing some of this work.
Okay,
Yes.
and those are separate from the PBL?
Yes, it's a separate,
But they might
yes.
be the same?
Well, they might be the same person, and it's also integrated, right? And again, like I was alluding to before about the questions, it's supporting teachers in internalizing lessons and then executing them, right? Yeah.
I think my brain just goes to whenever I'm in a meeting, my daughter has like severe food allergies, and I always try to be in the room because nobody remembers food allergy. And I'm like, I'm thinking about food allergies. And so in this situation, I'm thinking about what Lewis brought up with English language learners, or just all when we're in these small groups and don't have those voices, like is there a guide to say, remember our ELL students, remember our students with IEPs when you're brainstorming together for these?
And that's a great point. And so as part of the criteria, we've asked schools to bring in, their MLL folks and special ed folks, and we're integrating that through the focus Nicole was talking about with the adaptations for learners. Like some people might call that scaffolds, right? In another educational platform, but thinking about like taking into consideration the students that are in front of you, right? So yes, schools do have the opportunity to send teachers with that level of expertise.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
One question, it's kind of a broad question, given what our mandate is and representing families and parents. What are some of the most important or kind of high leverage entry points for parents to learn, to be aware of the fact that this PBL program is happening district-wide, and where they can kind of step in to advocate for their children?
100%. I think that, through our parent coordinators, who are part of this work with us, I think that them understanding the curriculum, which is another thing that we are including in our work for next year, they can create workshops and opportunities for parents to kind of engage with curriculum. Teachers learn best when they do the lessons and problems, that students have to do, right? You understand like what could be a possible misconception as you go through that process. I found that to be like really effective for parents as well, right? And so first grade is very different now than it was in like 1984 or 5 when I was there. And so, engaging in that work with kids is important. So I think that that's another platform that, our family leadership team can do to support parent coordinators and ultimately parents. But again, in thinking about this idea of PBL, not thinking of it as, a narrow focus in terms of like this idea of projects, but looking at it and how are we getting students to critically think. And so we have family guides that the team created that are pretty spectacular, that break down the skills and also provide supports for how parents can, ask students questions about the books that they're reading in school and at home, which would be similar ways that they would be engaging with texts at school. So that could be another way in which parents can get that level of support.
And the district-wide family workshops will continue next year as well.
Okay.
So like similar to this year, where our family leadership coordinator, our family support coordinator, Brenda Michelle, they would collaborate with our instructional team members and provide hands-on workshops for families, whether it was literacy-based or math focused, but PBL and explicit tier 1 instruction will be a common thread. So there will be those learning opportunities as well.
Thank you.
And then more of this. I think we want to, invite teachers and leaders to share the work as we continue to develop it and continue to receive feedback and ideas from all of you. So we will continue that also in this forum.
Great. Anybody else?
Michelle, you good?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Kim is at the door, but it's locked.
It's locked.
So I propose that we adjourn the calendar portion of the meeting, take 5, and then
Technically have the level public comment.
I think we did the general.
Did we?
public.
Okay.
Yeah. Very.
Oh, yeah, Alicia.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to run downstairs and.
Yeah, will we be able to open?
Can we even open it?
No, I'll go. Thank you, Shanice.
Thanks, Shanice. Thank you. Alicia, are you there?
She's in.
I am here. Yes, it's now a good time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I have very brief remarks, so no need to wait long until we adjourn the calendar meeting. So again, my name is Alicia. I'm a representative with the Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso. Grateful to be here. Thank you, everyone, for such thorough and insightful remarks and the amazing things you do. With our office, one big thing to note is we are having in Sunset Park a Know Your Rights training. It's with Mixteca. It will go and be next Thursday around 6:30. There'll be a community dinner and then the training to follow with a lot of people who are very much experts in immigration and what's going on. So we invite anyone and everyone to go and come and learn. There should be information that's sent out by parent coordinators. So that hopefully should be in your inbox. And you can also go to our website or Instagram for more information. More education related. We are in graduation season. Congratulations to all the graduating students. With that, it's not too late to invite our office to graduation celebrations, so please do reach out. And beyond that, we are continuing to do things, move and shake. Please feel free to go and check out our social media, our website for more. But I know it's been a long meeting, so I will leave it with that. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you for being so patient too.
I'm putting a flyer for that in. It's really nice that they're offering a community dinner along with the Know Your Rights meeting. It's really fantastic. Thank you so much, Alicia.
Definitely. Yeah, no, Becca is always doing amazing things like that. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. I move to adjourn the calendar meeting and take a quick break.
Second.
Great.
Third, fourth.
All right, let's take 5 and come back at 38. Cool. All right, we're back. Thanks to folks who are still bearing with us. I know a lot of people that felt that. I'd like to call our business meeting to order at 8:43. Kara, could you call the roll first?
Yeah. Councilmember Ana Maria Aguilar. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Present.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
Present.
Councilmember Angelica Jadamandan. Present. Councilmember Basil Crandall. Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Kim Wanless.
President.
Councilmember Shing Sashu.
Present.
Councilmember Tara Swirling.
Great, so we now have a quorum. All right, I think that we can move through most of this pretty quickly. First, I would like to move to approve the April calendar and business meeting minutes as presented here. Can everyone please raise hands if you would like to vote yes to approve the minutes as presented on the agenda? And minutes are approved with a unanimous vote. All right, there's a resolution that we need to vote on. So I had a conversation with Basil Crandall last week. And he unfortunately is gonna need to step down from his role as council member. I was hoping that he'd be able to let you all know himself, but at this stage, we need to have a resolution in order to declare a vacancy so that we can fill that seat, hopefully in time for the upcoming year. So you can see the resolution linked in the agenda. It's very straightforward, just indicates why we're declaring a vacancy. And even though I don't have a resignation letter in writing, it was verbally expressed to me. So if anybody has any comments or questions about the resolution, we can take those. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and move it to the meeting. This will have to be filled through the borough president.
So is there like a process and solution?
So then I'll send the, Shanice will send the resolution to Face, and then the vacancy is officially declared. And then I will keep. Let's bring the borough president at this, because we still need that other people this one, and we know that there are candidates who want that role.
I move to vote. Second.
Great, roll call vote for this one.
Should I be reading the full things on here?
No, Councilor.
Okay. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yeah, I vote yes in support of the resolution.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so yes, so.
Of a CEC 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
Yes.
Councilmember Angelica Jadamandan. Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Wanless.
Yes.
Councilmember Shing Sashu.
Yes.
Councilmember Tara Swirling, yes.
Okay. So that passes, and it's a bummer, you know, it's been great to have Basil's voice on the council. But get it volunteer gig come up, so hopefully we'll be able to fill that.
Sorry, another factor, you mostly have to take on work as a support group to operations and
Yeah.
so you want to talk about it.
Let's do, and working group updates is up next anyway, so, yeah, so I had to hit pause on the operations of the infrastructure working group because I can't commit to leading it in the way that it needs to be led. So if there is anybody else who would be willing to be the council member liaison for that working group in the upcoming year, I mean, I think everything can kind of pause over the summer and just going, but think about it. I mean, this is transportation, buildings, I think those are probably the two biggest things that are top of mind on community members' minds right now. So if that's something that you would be interested in taking on, then we can have a way to keep that going in the upcoming year. Maybe if we get new people in the seats, one of them will want to take it on. And if not, I think we might just need to either taper it back to 2 working groups or split the instruction working group into tech and curriculum, since you guys have a lot coming together. I don't know, but we're into working group updates, so I don't know if you all want to share some of, like, we've heard a little bit based on the curriculum and tech conversation in the first half, but.
Well, I'll start, but in terms of the curriculum and programming, and I would beg Kara and Jonathan to jump in. It's an active group. We've had conversations, we've had guests come in. We've had a teacher from the Harbor School, we had a teacher from another school also. But they spoke to the impact of the mandated curriculums, specifically math, on their, their school curriculum in general. That was really the purpose of the school. How it's just shifted everything to implement this mandated curriculum. So I mean, just to be honest, and I hope it's not too blunt, there are people who just like want to get rid of mandated curriculum and would want us to present a resolution to just ask, whether it's district or citywide, to stop the mandated curriculums. I myself am not on that trajectory. I am more trying to look at what does, I know it's a mandated and scripted curriculum, and I know there's politics involved in terms of who gets to not implement, but, purchase with the city and what maybe whatever their motives are. But there's also the factor of, less disenfranchised students who may not have some of the skills that others may have to really understand and implement some of the projects if they don't have some of the foundational skills. So that's what was kind of holding me back from saying, hey, no mandated curriculums. I know that's a need. And we're hearing from teachers who feel like less creative, less involved in terms of making sure that their individual students' needs are being met. So it's, I'm more inclined to somewhat of a balance, a request that looks towards requiring, and as you heard me push, the superintendency, like, if you say you're supporting this, what does it look like? We've heard a lot about the grant that is providing for now, like, they didn't call it master teacher, but like, it's a lead teacher from each school that does PBL and so forth. And that does take funding, that does take time, but it's also like, how does it get to all the teachers who may feel like they're not given the time to continue the theme of District 15, which has always been experiential, project-based, problem-solving learning. So we're not at the point where we are ready to implement a curriculum, but I've met with the district PBL liaison. And you hear Jonathan says he's meeting with principals. I'm going to actually the PBL open house on Thursday at 9:68. Is that Crystal? The principal presented today. So we're doing research as other folks on the team who's bringing research about how the mandated curriculum is negatively impacting, schools and educators. So we're just kind of still gathering information and see if we could come to a common ground on a resolution presentation. And I mean, I don't know if people are willing to work through the summer, but we do have, so June, it's then 22nd, we will have our second meeting this month. And that speaks to like the dedication of the folks that are having these conversations. So we'll see where it goes. Jonathan and Carol, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I think that was a pretty accurate, big representation of what we did in the last month. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, and I think the only thing to add is we're gonna continue the conversations. There was a resolution that was a very early draft and, I think the group is working towards what direction should that go and what is feasible and what is the best thing to advocate for, and there are lots of different perspectives and ideas on that, and I think that the group realized that we're not in a place to solidify anything in this moment, which is why the conversation is needed. So the next conversation is gonna be in 2 weeks or a week and a half, I think.
Yeah.
And hopefully with more data gathering, we can move to a place where we can come to some consensus around what that resolution could look like, similar to what the text would.
Equity and language next today, right?
Yes, we met this morning. It's been a busy where you were at, Rise Up, and all sorts of little meetings going on today. I went to the website, the Office of Language Access website that has the surveys and the requests, where you can request interpretation and where you can file a complaint. And then I called the only number that I could really find, and it just went to DOE. I spoke with someone and asked, where do these surveys go? Can I be put in contact with someone from the Office of Language Access? And I don't know if the person wasn't familiar, but they basically told me no. So I've put in 2 requests on that website for someone to contact me from the Office of Language Access. I have not heard back. So I'm hesitant to put this out, like, go to this website, request it. I just requested interpretation and I let my school know, like, this is just a test. I want to see how long it takes for you guys to actually get this request. That was just yesterday. So not a lot from that website so far. And they told me that the complaint, if you file a complaint, it's not going to the DOE, it's going to the interpretation service. So we discussed this morning about sending out our own survey just to see what schools in the district need the most attention. And Chincha and I had put this survey together a while ago. So we're working to get that sent out. Our idea is to speak with parent coordinators to get this on weekly or monthly newsletters. And then we had someone join us this morning from CAV. Forget what that stands for. I have it right here. I have it, but it doesn't say exactly what it stands for. But they work on housing for organizing Asian communities, and the representative wants to get out resources for families on housing. And I don't know about everybody else's weekly or monthly newsletters, but do yours have resources in the community that families can reach out to? Ours has some.
Consistently, I feel like ours like occasionally when there's something sort of new or on people's radar. That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of the same info every single time, like for food insecurity, there's resources. Our weekly newsletter has like resources for food insecurity and links to organizations. And so I think for housing insecurity, we can have resources for that also. So we're trying to get in touch with, we know the parent coordinators meet monthly, and how can we pitch these ideas to them to get them put out to every school. And let's see. And we're gonna meet again on June 24th. We have, I'm not sure if she's leading these parent coordinator meetings but I was given this contact from my parent coordinator. And hopefully she'll be joining us at our next meeting. And then the representative from CAB will also be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and, oh, sorry, as things come up that the council can help with us. Teresa, did you want to answer that?
Oh, yeah, she has something to say.
Yeah.
Okay. Many parents say that they really want to be engaged in their kids' education, but there are still a lot of challenges. The first thing is language. Even with the translation service, still parents, they don't have enough time, and it's very hard for them to understand those term words. It's very professional. It's hard for them to understand. And then many families, they are not familiar with the school system. They have no idea where to seek for help or assistance when they need help. And for those, especially for those IEP family, I mean the family with IEP students, it's even harder. Most parents are very stressed and feel so helpless. And for those students or families, they are living in the not stable housing. It's still a big problem to many of them. Nowadays, the inflation, the rent, the utility are all still keep increasing. That could bring a consequence of moving to another community. And this could pull down the students' attendance, especially to those new immigrant students. And we are done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Tingsha because she's, I feel like has been voicing the concerns of many families all year, and her advocacy has been awesome. I always thought I'm like, you're in like 10 places at once. She really goes to all the meetings. Something that has continued to come up is that there isn't a lot of access to interpretation at some schools. Even when it is available, it's not free. Hopefully we can narrow down some of these issues in our survey that we'll send out.
Sorry. Is the survey going to parents?
That's the idea. Just to see where we need attention, but also when I spoke with the person yesterday, who I said, okay, we can go to this website to request interpretation, and they're like, you should really just be going to your principal and your school for that. And I asked, well, what happens when it's still not happening? Then you should go to the district. Yeah. Not
So-
everybody knows how to contact the district. It's a lot of hoops all the time because you're trying to get services or something for your kid. So then you go to this website and you find out that doesn't work, and you go to your school and that doesn't work.
Does every school have a parent coordinator that this is happening in?
I mean, they should, unless there's a vacancy that hasn't been filled yet. I think one of the issues that I've seen is that some schools like rely on somebody to sort of navigate translation requests because that person speaks the language that's most commonly spoken at the school. It may or may not be the parent coordinator. It may just be a parent who speaks the language. And so then like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's this disconnect between what we hear from NYCPS about how things should work, how it actually feels in practice, and then how parents like get from point A to point B when it's not there. I don't know if it's always the parent coordinators who help to navigate.
That's why I asked if the survey is going to parents.
Mhm.
Because I kind of feel like we know that there's a problem. I feel like the parent coordinators and the principals should be asked if there is a problem and to what extent we can help them to solve that problem. It is the responsibility of the school to provide that service. So what is preventing them from doing it? And it may be the same thing that you're experiencing, but if we don't know what to advocate for, so I not to, but I don't know if it's going to be helpful to say to parents, hey, are you having a problem? Because we know, unless we're trying to see which schools, then I think we can just go to the PTA president and ask, like, do you have translations? Have you asked for translations? And then go up to like the parent coordinator. Okay, these people are getting it, so we don't need to speak to them. Okay, let's look at the parent coordinators for the ones that are not getting it. And they may be asking, and it's not getting it in time, so we can actually troubleshoot what the actual problem is.
It also seems like there's like a confluence of issues too. So there's one is just schools failing to provide translation services or doing it maybe inconsistently. But then what Chinka's also saying is even when they do, it's
not good.
poor. So I don't know I don't know. I feel like we need to.
Oh, that means some words is very professional, but some parents maybe due to their educational background, they don't understand these words even in their own language. So that's
You can put English too.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's like, right, different dialects, or maybe it's more formal than people like generally speak. So I don't know. I think we had a conversation at one point around like the vendors that are used, and is there some like looking at those contracts and what does that look? So it seems like there's a couple of issues about like the quality.
I mean, translators are trained to translate, right? So it's actually the person that's giving the presentation that maybe they're not realizing it's going over to people's head too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is there a process for kind of lodging these types of qualitative complaints or generally qualitative feedback as to the quality of these services and tech, in particular translation services?
Well, that's what Angelica's been trying to
do.
It goes into a black box.
We just don't, we don't know where it goes. We don't know how it's used.
Right. We can't contact anybody who has access to anything about it.
How many languages are you gonna offer the survey in? And who's doing that translation for that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real question and it's a question because it's, yeah.
So that's my point in terms of like, just go straight to the parent coordinator.
Yeah.
And the PTA president, parent coordinator and PTA president, because you could be that,
Yeah.
But I mean, I would like to say for the record, it's not acceptable for you to not get an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're asking all the right questions.
I think it should be escalated.
We appreciate both of you and everybody else.
Yeah, and you're an elected person to represent a large body that is a major representative body of this city. And
I think on the website, my experience too is we have these resources, but there's no like contact us or there. It's by design, I'm sure. But it's so frustrating. You can go to this website and learn, oh, this stuff is available to me.
But isn't there a DOE person in charge of translation?
There's an Office of Language Access.
Right.
I cannot get a hold of them.
So it's an inaccessible office.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with the escalation point. When you feel like you're reaching a roadblock, like you've tried a lot. At some point, copy me and Raphael, and even with stuff like the email, we finally got a response from the IT person because Raphael got involved, which is an absurd use of superintendent time. But these offices also have to be doing the work that they're needed to do.
Did you try, and it's kind of stupid, but did you try 311 sometime?
I think
Yeah, you did try.
it was
Sometimes they
the
can like
GOE.
find us, yeah. They
And
can find
that
like a weird
person,
office.
the conversation did not.
Oh, no, you
I
have to
was
get the right
like,
person at
yeah,
311.
I'll try again, but they were not.
No, you shouldn't
picking
try
up
again.
what I
It should be
Have found the right
escalated.
person at the fire department after a lot of online
Yeah.
searching.
Yeah. They were like, this is for DOE, this is not for like public use. I'm like, I called it, yeah. And then they said to me, I don't know how else I can explain this to you. I'm like, I feel the same way. So, yeah.
How many community members have been showed up to that?
1, 2, 3, 4. Besides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angelica and I were also able to go to an event at Rise Up that Chingsal was a part of, and it was fantastic. I was so impressed by how, just like how they gather community there and how they bring people's voices together. It was really lovely. So anything we can do to be partnering with Rise Up, I think is great. They know the Sunset Park community really well. Great. I think that's it for working groups, unless anybody has any.
I have a couple of general comments.
Mhm.
The borough president seat vacancy.
Oh, yes. So yeah, there's still a couple general.
Okay, so why is that accepted? Like, why is that okay?
This is also.
All
yeah,
year,
Yeah.
we don't have a representative from the borough president's office. Why is that okay?
This has been so frustrating.
Are they advertising and nobody's applying?
No,
Or
we know that people have applied.
And interviewed.
And I think that, yes, like,
what they need to be cleared? What?
I cannot figure out who is dropping the ball and where it is.
Cause
So
you
I,
have sent 48 emails about this.
to Donovan in the VP's office and to Face and to D15 folks, because we know, like, I know personally at least 3 people who applied after the
You should
last
ask for a meeting
election.
with the borough president. It's unacceptable.
And then so then Donovan sent me a list of all of the people who he says that they interviewed. One of whom is someone who served on the last term and his term is over already, he resigned. So like, that doesn't make any sense. The 3 of us were on the list, we were never interviewed and were elected in a different capacity.
No, I was interviewed.
Oh, you were interviewed?
I was interviewed.
Okay, I did not know that.
I was
Right.
interviewed.
Anyway, it just seems like the information that wherever they're keeping the information, it's not accurate. I feel like they have lost the candidates who applied previously. My understanding was that one candidate was being moved forward, the candidate who.
Well, we need to send a resolution.
Was up for election, who stood for election and who was, close to being elected here. My understanding was that they were like cleared by both Face and the VP's office. So I don't know why they're not here yet. I've escalated it through the whole Face chain of command.
Literally the number 1 person there.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, it's ridiculous.
I signed her up for an email, so let's just bring her on board.
Got a sweatshirt with her name on it.
I also
I
have her.
Because we've been.
What is somebody gonna do?
3 months ago that she was, so.
So why can't you just invite her to a meeting? Is there another
It has
formal
to go
step?
through Face. I don't control it. I mean, she could come to a meeting as a community member. She has-
No, yeah, but yeah.
Won't be able to vote, that's the only
That's
issue.
Yeah. So anyway, now.
I mean, I was half joking, but will a resolution help? You resolve that borough president's office?
I can't imagine it'll help.
I would say that, electeds always respond to that fear of being called out. And I do think he does a phenomenal job representing the borough, but this is probably something that he would respond to if his name
I
was
mean,
on it.
we haven't sent an email to him.
That's true.
We have sent it to the people that work on education, but
And
we
like-
haven't sent it to the borough president.
I get that it's not their priority.
It is.
I think it would be. I think it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be their priority. I'm
Right.
sorry.
I'll email people.
Well, if we can support too, because.
Yeah, no, I was actually to kind of some of our prior conversations, I'm happy to, you know, take this,
That'd be
one of
great.
the 1,000,010 things you have on your plate.
That'd be
and
great.
report back.
Thank you. I can forward you the correspondence.
Okay, yeah, happy to do that.
It's just a process. It's just a process. It's like processing someone.
Yeah. And, yeah, like, one of my biggest frustrations in spaces like this is when goodwill gets wasted, you know? So like, we have people who want to volunteer their time.
And are they going to still want to volunteer their time after going through all of this?
Yeah. Good question. So yeah, that is in the works. Second myself for this. The other thing that I linked to in the agenda is I started putting together a draft calendar for next year. We don't need to go through this line by line now, but this takes into account the academic calendar for next year. If everyone could just take a look and see if I'm overlooking religious holidays that might not have been a day off on the calendar, but that we should think about, or a day that you're like, ugh, nobody's gonna come because, you know, it's right before a long weekend or whatever the case may be. There's a couple of months where we could go with one date or another. So if you have an opinion about that, you can leave comments in the Google Doc. The most important thing is that our next meeting will be July 21st, which is a Tuesday as usual, our usual time. It'll be here. That's when we will elect officers for the upcoming year and approve a tentative budget. So it's really, really important that we have quorum. And I know the July meeting is hard because people travel, but I think we've got 7 who've committed to be there. So if you can't be there, let me know. Because we do need to make sure that we.
If you can't come, we'll come to you.
Hopefully we have one extra member who can be there.
That would be amazing too. My last.
July 21st.
21st.
Okay.
And are you also thinking, I know we talked about this, I'm just looking at location, that we just do a majority of the meetings here next year? And then choose just a couple, like a school in the fall and a school in the spring?
That's what I'm thinking, with the reasons being, consistency. I think it makes it easier for people to show up if they know where the meeting is always gonna be. It's a lot easier for setup, and
we haven't gotten a lot of parents going down to the
the whole
schools.
reason of going to the schools was to be in community with people, and that's
Yeah,
not
working.
where people are coming, and so I think we just keep it here, maybe once a semester we go to a school. Yeah, so if folks feel okay with that, and then I don't want it to feel like we're distancing ourselves from the school, but I'm not sure that it's serving the intended purpose. I have to change locations every time.
Even though it's easier for me to go to school than to come down here.
I'm sure.
I guess my only question is that I feel like, I mean, sometimes the principal is there, sometimes not, but
yeah,
I don't know if principals get pride out of like showcasing the school and hosting, so.
I think they do, and like, it's tricky anyway, because we can't go to every school.
Yeah.
Because they have to be accessible, which not all schools in the district are, and I decided this year I wanted them also to be relatively close to transit, which takes some schools like out of the picture. So we end up going back to the same schools, which also feels a little off, you know, that there's some schools that we just don't ever visit. So maybe we try to invite principals to, even if it's just to zoom in, but say, we'd love to talk about, you know, like hearing from folks today.
Yeah, I like that idea. I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to suggest maybe in the beginning of the year, we just do an email to all principals. If you would like us to host a meeting at your school and you have accessibility and please let us know. Right? So they can host us if they want, but I really like the idea of inviting them to present, just as the superintendent presents. I mean, it could be a specific topic or.
Yeah, I think so too. Could do some outreach this summer to see about that.
Well, let's just like a breakfast, I see 2 possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually a Friday in January. That seems kind of okay. Want to give it some distance from the new year. It sometimes depends on like when they're gonna be in session, which we don't always know until pretty close to the day. Those seem like the most likely options.
Do the meetings, can they be held anywhere?
That's a good question. I know some councils meet at Tweed. I think some use community spaces because they don't have ready access to a school or a district building. But I'm not sure what the parameters are besides. Are you thinking about Rise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, or just
No, Rise.
in different areas around the district.
Mhm.
And then,
We were going to do that 2 years ago,
Mm.
and it got moved last minute, some community-based organization. So I think it has been done.
okay.
Yeah, that could be.
I was just checking legislative breakfast timing. I think based on at least the last 3 years, the 22nd would align with it, and I
Okay.
only know that because it's always the Friday before my spring semester starts.
Got it.
My spring semester starts always the last week of January.
So let's just put it at the 22nd for now. I mean, it's far enough.
We should
in
check
advance.
with, we should obviously check with the board president.
Yeah. Let's
Put that
put
on
that as the
Ken's.
desirable date.
Yeah,
Um,
because Ken gets answers from that office.
How'd you know? That's what I was just. I had, well, we'll talk after.
The other thing I was gonna mention is the superintendent evaluation. So, this is, the evaluation is not a public document. It's a personnel document that I'll deliver to the superintendent. What, Antonia did in past years and what I'll try to do, is synthesize people's input into like a more cohesive document that offers some constructive feedback on what we thought about the year. We can take into consideration community feedback from the survey, which I shared with you all. Thank you all for everybody who's put in your entries so far. Can you, yes. Okay. And Anna, I'll follow up with her separately. If you have any comments you want to add, you can add those at the bottom. It's not required, but you know, if there's something in particular that stands out or that you want to mention, either positive or constructive, feel free to add that at the bottom. And we'll incorporate that as well. And if you could get that to me by the end of the week, I'm gonna start trying to synthesize so that I can set up a meeting about that.
Sean didn't have to put a comment.
Thank you for your comment, Kim. I appreciate your comments.
I plan to get to it. I was like, let me do numbers first.
Yeah. I mean, at least that's there, so. Angelica or Shanice, anything you want to say about finance?
You have the report and you hold it, if you wanna share the balance, but as far as any movement, there hasn't been much movement. The most movement, are the reimbursements that were submitted to me. From a lot of you guys, from today, so that's the most movable.
Okay, those reimbursements are not here.
No, not all of
Yeah.
them.
Okay, cause I know I.
Yeah, that's yours. What do you guys?
A lot of us.
It's in the process.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got yours too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow or now, submit your reimbursements for June so that we don't have to do back pay next year.
Yeah, so please
Because
just.
I will not be able to approve it. But yeah, I think everybody got in their May reimbursement.
Jigsaw shared hers today.
Yeah.
Or yesterday, so I need to.
I have to look over it.
Yeah,
but,
I think we might need to split it out by months, but I think we can accommodate it. So, thank you. Thanks everybody for doing that.
So for June, tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's your best bet to get paid.
Okay.
Just because everyone is submitting everything at the end of the year and then it all gets back and then it'll get pushed to next year. The soonest possible is best.
But we're good, considering what's happened in previous years.
Yes, indeed.
From what I hear.
Yeah.
For business?
I do want to bring up, I wasn't able to comment when they were talking about PS 456. I kind of personally feel like I want to go to that location during a busy time. It's not my school, I'm sorry.
That's mine.
It's 10.
Yeah, but I kind of have a affinity to it because of BNS, and it was a outgrowth of that school, and I do know the principal and the parent coordinator. But the last thing we want is for a kid to get hurt, right? And that's when whatever streets will be closed, it'll all go into action. So I don't know, they're saying it's DOT, so then are we contacting our local officials? Are they involved? Are the representatives for that area? If they're not, if they are, what are they saying?
Ken and I were just chatting about this during the break too. It's such a tricky spot because it's at this triangle where.
Yes, triangle.
Yeah. And there's construction happening there. And I mean, so what we were talking about is that like the possibility of a street closure is gonna be really hard right there. It's gonna be a really tough sell because there's just so much congestion there.
Already, okay.
Yeah.
So it might make more sense to channel our advocacy into getting crossing guards because they only have.
That was my question. Do they have crossing?
And so then it's not DOT, it's NYPD.
Right, that's what I was told.
It's crazy.
I think it's a very busy corner, and I say this also as a resident of that block.
Okay.
It's been busy for some time. Just think we'll talk about it, but Katina and I were just saying that I think that's the best avenue for them to actually advocate for more safety guards, crossing guards, as opposed to some of the other.
And as well as traffic police, because that's a different level of authority.
Yeah.
Crossing guards don't give out tickets when you know what I'm saying? But if they, at the end of every school day, have a traffic police and two crossing guards, whatever. Because there's a difference in the authority. Because just like at Flatbush and Atlantic, when there is rush hour or, something at the Barclays, they have additional.
Yeah.
It's a highly policed area. Anyway, surely they can.
But there also are other measures though, aside from street closure. Like I know, I think it's DOT. I remember they came to my wife is co-president of our PTA, and I think at one point, council member Shahana Hanini from DOT came to do an assessment because we had an issue where like a child was hit or nearly hit. It was we're on actually not as busy as this intersection, but there was a dangerous situation that occurred. And so I believe it was a representative from DOT came. Nothing has happened as of yet, but there are other measures that they take into consideration, like speed bumps or those like white cone things where like that slows cars down when you turn. They can, with the street signs, they can have like delayed green lights to give people time to cross. There are other like intermediary measures as well. That might be more realistic.
Is that Lincoln?
That's Lincoln, yeah. I can, for this, I think I could reach out to him for this.
Especially since you're the liaison,
Yeah.
you live in the community.
Yeah.
I think
He's very responsive, and I'm sure that the principal's already been in touch, but I'll reach out to the principal, see what conversations have been had.
That'd be great.
Connect with Lincoln.
Well, the last I had conversation with them, I think it was after the community meeting. Was it town hall? I can't remember, but it was maybe close to
Our meeting,
January.
is that 2 months ago? Our CEC meeting was hosted there, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, but they do know that they can go to NYPD about crossing guards, and so when I text about that, she said, I know, we went to that meeting already, so they've like maxed out and
They've
tried,
been pushing.
yeah, they've tried a lot of avenues. So they're kind of looking to us as a committee to say, help.
What's the response from the people, or has there been a response?
I don't know, I was just sharing like what a next step that she can do, and she said, nope, we did that already, so I didn't really know.
It's not enough people that they don't, that there's like a shortage, or that they say that it's a budget thing. I don't know what they've said to 456 specifically, but.
Oh,
like
that they were hiring, yes,
they've got,
that's
like,
what
their
it
stock
was.
answers.
The response was there was gonna be 100 people being hired next month, and that should fill, and that was for crossing guards.
Crossing guards.
Yeah, I'm gonna find the text.
Completely separate, I don't wanna just make this like, just talking about everything, but is there a date which crossing guards are no longer required to be present at school intersections? Because I know for one, at the intersection of Hoyt and Pacific, which is PS 261, where my children go to school, there's not been a crossing guard
really?
for weeks.
Oh, weird. No.
That's okay.
That's not a thing.
I didn't think that was a thing.
Yeah.
Schools still have.
And
it,
if, if the schools have summer school, then they're supposed to have classrooms also.
But it's also, but like we have, in this conversation, I don't know how, we have two crossing guards and they're sisters. And one of them was not injured at work, but was injured and she was out, but there's certainly like no replacement. So if something happened to that crossing guard and that crossing guard is just out,
Nobody
then you
said
would just
anything.
not have a crossing guard, is my guess. If that person was just out of work for one reason or another, like she hurt her foot, she couldn't stand there, and then she was out for 6 months, and then we had one crossing guard for 6 months.
Really?
Our crossing guard gets a sub.
Yeah,
Oh, ours
on
is
my
not.
block, there's
Never
a
gets a
school, and we got a sub. We have a long-term sub for pregnancy.
That's like the PD who we would reach out to.
Yeah, that's NYPD. So this is the text. It was Alvarez. I had reached out. Alvarez posted that. A little bit above.
Traffic light, I mean, there are, but like, not like what we're talking about.
And
I can see
then
they live in
at
the
456.
neighborhood and they want to be there, and I think
Yeah,
that's actually
schools
what it
do
is. They want
sometimes
them
have good
together.
work in recruiting from within their own
Yeah, like
community.
they went to
Six
they
vacancies.
went to 154 and.
Which also makes it hard for 456 because it's drawing from across
For Tuesday,
Brooklyn,
right.
so.
You really need people at all of those very busy intersections.
Yeah, and they
because
like, they don't live there,
Okay,
like,
right.
people live all over, so.
we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I
Text
mean,
me
we're
that, please.
perfect timing, good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, anybody wants to bring up before we adjourn?
The request that I put in for interpretation came through to my principal just emailed me, so I took like 24 hours, so
Okay.
that's encouraging, yeah.
I just wanna say thank you to Katina.
Yes.
Here.
Thank you, Katina.
Nothing to work with, and, the structure is kind of crazy, and I'm glad we're all doing it together.
Yeah.
Come have a picnic together, after school gets out.
Sounds great. And thank you to Shanice.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Patience all around, I think you've got more patience. Thanks, everybody. We don't really have a break for the summer, I mean, since we've been using.
No, this is the end of our first year.
Again, yeah.
Like, this
think
is the
about it.
official end
Yeah,
of,
Yeah,
we're starting a whole new year.
Yeah.
July with, a new president and a new
yeah, who's gonna be the new
vice
president?
president.
Wait, what?
I'm like,
We have to re-elect all the positions.
4 more years. 4 years.
I'm just putting it in the group chat, okay? What you requested, because I'm not techie like that. Sorry.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, I'll, move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Third.
Agenda 9:33.
I'm not trying to get you out of office. I was more thinking about you.
Maybe you're next in line.
No, I'm not.
Exactly, exactly. See you.
Yeah, we got a plane together.
Yeah, I'll be the
Can't picnic
designated
together.
survivor.
Oh my goodness. Thanks so much to everybody on Zoom. Thank you to the interpreter for joining us.
I didn't get on Zoom once I got here.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I like it too. You saw the one. And Maggie too.